Hi, I'm Catherine Blakemore. I am the former executive director of Disability Rights California, which is the agency established under federal law as California's protection and advocacy system. And our mandate is to assist people with disabilities and protect their civil rights through a variety of advocacy efforts. And I had the really good fortune of working at Disability Rights California or other similar organizations for about 40 years. And both as a lawyer representing people and protecting their civil rights and their educational rights and their housing rights, and then most recently as the executive director. So the ADA to me is really based on the foundations of other really important statutes, and those include the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, and both of those laws helped ensure inclusion and end discrimination. So when I was a very young lawyer in 1977, I did a lot of work in the area of education, and one of the very first cases I worked on was representing a child, Jeremy, who was in first grade. And in the summer, he had been crossing a street with his family and unfortunately was hit by a car and became quadriplegic as a result of that. And when his mother went to enroll him in school for the next school year, she was told that because of his disability, he could not return to his neighborhood school and instead would need to go to a segregated special education program because that's where students with disabilities went. And his parents contacted us and we agreed to take the case because that discrimination of saying you couldn't be with your neighborhood peers was just fundamentally wrong and contrary to the very foundations of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So we represented him in a hearing, we went to court. When we went to court, I think one of the most important things to me was numbers of his classmates and their parents came to court with us. And the students, their first and second graders, clearly enjoyed being with Jeremy, but also more importantly, talked to the news media that was there about how they couldn't understand why Jeremy couldn't attend school with them and how important it was that their friend be able to go to school and participate with them just like he had in the years before. So that case to me just represented the first opportunity to really challenge a discriminatory practice and ensure that Jeremy could attend his neighborhood school and be included with his friends. So I think the first aha moment of the ADA was our ability to use the ADA and a United States Supreme Court decision called the Olmstead case, which said that people with disabilities could not be unnecessarily segregated in institutions. And one of the most powerful ways we used the ADA and that case holding was to challenge the budget cuts that were proposed when California was deep in an economic recession in 2008 and 2009. The state made the decision that what it was going to do is significantly reduce community-based supports like the in-home supportive services program. Um, and our lawyers in Disability Rights California decided that that violated the ADA and would result in people needing to move into institutions contrary to the Olmstead decision. So twice we went into federal court, twice we were successful with the court holding that the ADA prohibited the state from making decisions that would result in the unnecessary institutionalization of people. So the ADA is an extraordinarily powerful tool to protect people's civil rights and ones that we need to continue to use today. So I think what we've learned in the last few months is that there's always room for us to continue to use the ADA as a tool to push further. And the pandemic really reminds us of the high risk that people with disabilities, particularly those living in segregated and isolated settings like nursing homes, face. Um, COVID, which disproportionately impacted nursing home residents. And it's in part because of the congregate setting that they live in and the vulnerability of people with disabilities to this particular disease. And so as we think about reopening California and moving forward, we have to really remember the importance of the ADA and saying that people need to live in the community. They need to be included. We have to be mindful of how do we accommodate the needs of people with disabilities as part of our reopening? How do we redesign service systems so that we no longer think of nursing homes as a primary place where people with disabilities or seniors should be living? How do we ensure that people with disabilities, when they are participating in activities of the day, aren't placed in isolated day kinds of programs, but instead given opportunities to interact in the larger community. So lots of work in that area to be done. I think the other part that's important is to use this moment to engage in intersectional civil rights advocacy. There's lots of energy now to looking at issues of discrimination affecting Black and Brown people who are also more disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, and to use this as an opportunity to come together as a larger civil rights community to advance inclusion, integration, non-discrimination for all people, including those with disabilities.